Good evening. I'd like to call to order the November 17th, 2025 Board of Education regular meeting at 7 o'clock. Before we begin, I'd like to have a moment of silence for our beloved student, Noah Sen, and his loving parents and family. Noah will be remembered for his kindness, compassion, and care for all members of our school district community. We'd like to extend our deepest and most sincere appreciation to those individuals in our school district and within our families and community who so bravely served our country in the military. Together, we acknowledge and honor their courage and sacrifice on behalf of the entire community. So I'd like to take a moment of silence. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes. First is the approval of the minutes for the October 21st, 2025 Board of Education special meeting. Can I have a motion? Okay. Any discussion, edits? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, item B, approval of minutes for the October 21st, 2025 Board of Education regular meeting. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Any discussion, edits? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 5C, approval of minutes for the October 27th, 2025 Board of Education special meeting. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda is item 6, consideration of superintendent's report. Item A, Board of Education 2024-2025 goal results for Town Council's strategic plan.
So you saw a narrative document last meeting that we sent to the town council, and this includes the data that you saw from the results and outcomes document from the last meeting. So we send this along to the town as well for their strategic planning and outcomes. So we'll be sending that to them, but you've already seen this in the results and outcomes booklet.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Next item is item 6B, College Board Report.
So Kate Martorelli is here, our extraordinary counseling department chair leader, and she is here to provide an overview of our annual College Board Report. We do have a new feature in the report, so I will hand this over to Kate for the reveal.
Yeah, right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kate Martorelli. I am the school counseling department leader. Thank you to the Board of Education and Superintendent Greeter for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. It is my pleasure to share with you information about our 2025 college testing results, as well as dual enrollment opportunities for our Farmington High School students. That's the new part. College testing assessments provide valuable information about our students' potential for success at the post-secondary level, as well as their actual level of achievement in a specific area of study. This report includes information for the class of 2025 for AP exams, SATs, and ACT exams, as well as UConn Early College Experience and Connecticut State Tungus dual enrollment. I'd like to highlight the following statistics this evening. Farmington High School offers 27 AP courses in the areas of arts, English, history, and social sciences, as well as STEM and world languages and cultures. 567 students took 1,470 AP exams in 2025 in 29 subject areas, and as I had mentioned, 27 of which are offered at Farmington High School. 89% of Farmington High School's AP students scored a 3 or higher. I shifted that statistic this year. Traditionally, and it's still in the report, we share the percentage of students who earned a 3 or higher, exams that were a 3 or higher. That's 85%. I thought for the purpose of demonstrating sort of students and their score reports that the 89% of FHS students, so the student element of that report scoring a 3 or higher, is equally as meaningful as far as reporting not only the number of exams, 85%, that had a 3 or higher, but also the percentage of AP students who were scoring a 3 or higher. And again, just to summarize, that's 89% of those students, which is amazingly impressive. 105 students are designated as AP scholars. 43 are designated as AP Scholar with honor, and then 161 students received AP Scholar with distinction recognition. 83% of our Farmington High School juniors and seniors took 1 or more AP courses, and 56% of our juniors took either AP US History or AP African American Studies, which, as a reminder, either course qualifies students for meeting the U.S. History graduation requirement. The next information that I'll share tonight is about the SATs and ACTs. So this is summary cohort data for the class of 2025 who took the exam during high school. And their most recent SAT is what is articulated in these SAT score reports here. Students in the class of 2025 during their junior year also participated in a digitally adaptive Connecticut Essay School Day assessment. So that essentially means that students engage in an assessment that, pending how they're doing on the first portion of the assessment, takes them down one of 2 different pathways, increasing like access to the SAT, and provides individual students, college admissions, with an accurate assessment of a student's college readiness. 18 students from the class of 2025 took the ACT sometime during high school. We continue to see that number decrease for various reasons. Test optional policies remain in place. Many students have the opportunity, all students have the opportunity to take the SAT school day. So our students are first and foremost engaging in the SAT. The ACTs are shifting some of their tests and what it looks like. So we may see, I'm eager to see whether or not there's a shift in sort of a reinvigoration of participation with ACTs based on some upcoming revisions with the ACT. So stand by, we'll find out. A reminder that PSATs are administered to all 10th and 11th graders. And the SAT, as I said, is administered to all 11th graders March of every junior year. 100% of our students participate in the SATs, and like I said, the statistic is lower for the ACTs. Our SAT mean is 563, our evidence-based reading and writing mean is 579, and our mean composite score for the ACTs is 27.9. New information that I'd like to share tonight that works concurrently with our testing opportunities, APs, is information about UConn Early College Experience and CT State Tungus dual enrollment. So Farmington High School provides numerous opportunities for students to take rigorous college level courses with the option to earn potential college credit while in high school. Instructors are Farmington High School teachers certified by UConn and CT State. Farmington High School currently offers 11 unique ECE courses in several disciplines and two dual enrollment courses in personal finance and business. The statistic that I find very impressive also is this next one. So during the school year 24-25, 827 students participated in one or more AP, ECE, or dual enrollment course at Farmington High School, and this is 65% of our student population. Our UConn ECE program saw notable growth in participation, increasing to 200 students attempting 814 college credits during the 24-25 school year. So I stand here every year and I sort of reflect in preparation for this meeting on sort of all of this information. I always share that this information is thoughtfully and individually used in conversation with students during our individual meetings with families every year, during our lessons that we push into classrooms. So the data is important to us, especially on an individual level, and it's meaningful in our post-secondary planning support of all students. This year I wanted to share just additional information. You can see here our national merit semifinalists and finalists are always impressive. Our letters of commendation related to national merit are equally as impressive. And then year 2 right now of implementation of School Links. So I can't help myself, but I have to talk about School Links everywhere I go. I look at Kathy because I'm just sort of in our efforts to support all students and provide them with programming and access to assessments that engage them in learning about who they are and possible career and future plans. We're leveraging platforms like School Links, which not only does just some of the curriculum work and support there, like that career planning, but it's also, so this is something we're going to implement or roll out to our 9th graders in the coming weeks. And this is like, I think, just amazingly, the opportunities are endless when it comes to students actually, like digitally and electronically, engaging in an opportunity to plan out their courses at Farmington High School for all 4 years. So I did a screenshot of just a hypothetical freshman right now. It's called Course Planner. So you'll see I didn't have to enter into any of this stuff. It syncs with PowerSchool, and the student's coursework is listed right there. The system's been customized to mirror our graduation requirements and also all of our course offerings. And the bigger picture here is 4 years all on one page that a student can engage in at various levels and at various times through our curriculum or more independently or through other coursework. An opportunity to kind of see how their coursework, that's really sort of my biggest thing. So what you're doing at Farmington High School as it relates to your future planning and your graduation progress. So traditionally, school counselors would keep track of progress towards graduation through credit checkers, various iterations of a credit checker. With systems like this, it's just so collaborative. It's just a game changer for us when it comes to more complicated graduation requirements and an opportunity for a student to engage in that process and reflect on the courses they're taking at Farmington High School, the opportunities they have through coursework, dual enrollment, APs, potential college credit. It all just sort of comes together to inform thoughtful and meaningful choices for students during high school and after high school. So just had to sneak that in there a little bit. So I'm happy to take any questions. The report includes a lot of information and data, and I hope I just always show sort of there's just so much more to our kids than just some of these statistics and sort of how we're using that information, especially on a more personalized individual basis. So, any questions?
Hey, just one quick question. For the tool that you were just showing, so does it also go career pathing? Like over the 4 years, then it'll kind of give them a path?
Yeah, so to the right side of that screen, on the right side is one link that you can click on it. It brings right up their career clusters and their goals that are, the results of the assessments they took just entering into school links are linked right into the top of this like summary page. So at any point, they could go in, they could reflect on the connections there, or even update. Kids grow and learn through high school, and so we tell kids like this is just always available and a work in progress, and yeah, so all that lights there. Yeah.
And then just my second question, looking at the comparative SAT test results from like 23, I mean, the results are still outstanding, but from 23 to 25, there is a dip where Farmington stands, still blowing out national in Connecticut. What are some of the reasons or thoughts around why it might be slightly down a few points?
So I want to sort of preface that potentially with, it's hard for me to answer that specifically unless I'm looking exactly at your statistics. So we look at statistics for SATs based on school day SAT only, and then we look separately at cohort data. And cohort data for a whole bunch of our students right now is not necessarily SAT school day data, because the cohort data that I'm reporting, which sometimes looks a little less, is as a result of the second or third times that any student from the class of 2025 took their SAT. So if they took it in June, they took it in March, did really well, 2024, then took it again in June and didn't do as well, it's the June score that the College Board pulls for my, technically speaking, for my 2025 cohort report.
Okay.
So generally speaking, the data is consistent, and any variation could be interesting. Like class of 2025 was a very strong college admissions acceptance class. So what's fascinating, or what we don't always know, is which students submitted SAT scores and which students didn't, and then the degree to which like a more holistic approach was taken in that college admissions process. So I always like to know a little bit more about that SAT score. Are we looking at only SAT school day? Are we looking at the whole cohort? Then I like to look at sort of the results and outcomes for each of those students, which we collect all of that data. And competitive, you were always sort of in that, competitive range of post-secondary planning. So that's where I like if we can plan well for every student and they feel good about their, where they're attending after Farmington High School or what their plan is. For a whole bunch of them, their SAT wasn't sort of what they used to sort of define their process. So it's a really good balance. We report it because it's important to keep track of it, to implement sort of things in the classroom that build capacity when it comes to accessing these newly adaptive tests. But there's so much more to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, that's a long answer.
It's no,
That's
it's
not
very
that
helpful.
specific too.
No, thank you.
I would say that just like the Smarter Balance, we look at, again, it's one assessment, it's not the whole child, but we do look at these assessments as like a checkup. Your annual checkup, you go to the doctor and you kind of get an overview of where you are that day. And so it does give us information. It gives us information for our department leaders to say, wow, what happened in math? Or what happened in science, or what happened in reading, English language arts. And for Veronica and Eric and Russ and his team to kind of work with those department leaders, make some adjustments. It is one data set, and again, just like Kate said, a child is much more than that. And when they go to apply for a college, the college is looking at many different things, not just that one assessment. But it is something that we do pay attention to. And we want to make sure that our students are in the best standing possible when they do graduate and apply, or in their senior year apply for college. I did want to say, I want to commend Kate, her team. We were asked to present statewide about our graduation plans, our pathways, last year at a statewide virtual conference, and it was so popular that we've been asked back to present again statewide, because we are very much an exemplar for the state when it comes to our program of studies, our pathways document, and the way in which we took the new graduation requirements and looked at them as opportunities and flexibility, where some saw it as less flexibility, less opportunity. So we're trying to help other districts to see it the way we saw it. And then, and I can tell you, just from the one presentation, we have influenced many districts to make some changes to their program of studies and their pathways. And, maybe there's a point where you'd like that same presentation here at the board, because it is something that I think is really a point of pride for Farmington, is to have these documents that very much look like a university's documents. And they're, and it's having students, because we work on student voice and students leading their own learning from a young age, this example is having students really go in and use their voice and pick, what am I really passionate about in a pathway? How do I get to that by the time I'm a senior? And they're going to have a lot more ownership of it when they can manipulate it and work through this, the new school links. So I just want to commend all the work. I mean, I feel like Kate and her team have transformed so much here in Farmington over the time.
All the team. We just feel passionately that you got the about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so
just
we're
finding
helping
each
kids.
student what they're really interested in. We understand you may go to college and have one thought about your major and it could change, but we want students to maybe have more opportunities to figure that out before. And I think I'm just going to keep promoting this document because you're going to see when Veronica presents, we were given feedback from Jal Mehta, who is a Harvard professor working with us through the deeper learning districts. Came to our winter retreat a couple years ago, and we were presenting our deeper learning integrated units, and he said, I really, what I wonder about is, are you being explicit with students about when they go through these different units of study, what careers they're exploring while they're learning in this integrated unit? And so you'll see that we're really trying from pre-K on to talk to students about careers through our deeper learning opportunities for students. So you'll see a little bit about that later. I'm probably giving away Veronica's whole presentation because we talked about it earlier.
All of that just correlates to really high graduation rates.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
research sort of substantiates access to thoughtful curriculum,
Yes.
course programming, access to experiences like the SATs that gauge college and career readiness, combined with pathways and so forth, really just help kids sort of feel, I call it the hook, for all kids, and that just correlates to progress towards graduation and meaningful choices for after high school. So I drank the Kool-Aid when it comes to that stuff. I've seen it in action, with our own students. So it's all really, really good work. That is a very huge collective team effort. So it's a kudos to all of you for supporting that work too. From your level, it trickles down to our office level and the student, working with students and families. So thank you for supporting us.
I had one question.
Yeah.
Hey, Kate, just go ahead. Andre.
Oh, you sure? So are colleges going back to requiring the SAT?
Yeah, so I thought I'd be asked that question today. I can be a little cynical about it. Those of you that know me, I'm sort of transparent in how I answer things. The most selective, like the Ivies, are going back to it because they were getting the score anyways. Because the most competitive students are also the students with the highest scores and the highest GPAs. So for the sake of transparency, we've seen the population of colleges that have gone back to requiring tests are those Ivy League schools or those most selective schools. Not all of them, because they were getting them anyways. I think we'll continue to see a whole bunch of schools that were test optional before COVID that will obviously stay that way. And then even public institutions like possibly a UConn staying that way. Just because they've built, internally systems to really like look at kids holistically in new and more meaningful ways. And like fingers crossed for that, because like we were saying, there's just so much, I was not a great test taker, but I was a good student who cared a lot, but not always a great test taker. So like, thank goodness for the opportunity that still exists, the adaptive test that it is increases access. And then the choice and flexibility regarding whether or not you share. And we'll work with families and students individually as it relates to their list of schools to determine whether or not it makes sense to send scores.
Yeah, I asked that because I have a senior, so I've been paying attention to,
Yep.
SAT scores and whatnot. And our students do well, but if it's a test optional school and you look at their average scores, they're all like over 1,400, so it's kind of discouraging for a kid sometimes who's done well, but doesn't have those kind of
When I
scores.
think of those kids,
They're
it's
like inflated almost.
Yeah, you shouldn't, that really stressed us out back in
Yeah.
the day. I really try to ground students now and saying you can send them, at or above, but otherwise, if you don't send them, they're going to look at other parts of the application, and they will say it's not held against you or you're not disadvantaged. I'm not naive to the fact that none of us are in those admissions offices. That's like no one gets an opportunity to do that. I've had in 20 years, one time able to sit behind closed doors and watch the process, and it was fascinating. So I'm not naive to they keep that private purposefully. But I try to tell families not to get caught up in that because we don't have control over that. And the process now is so much more about demonstrating and reflecting on who you are as a person and then attempting to convey that through your application. And I've had more than one college admissions rep say to me regularly, well, that's not the impression I got about that student out of their application, which verifies to me the responsibility we have to really have kids at the dinner table at night, driving in the car to and from school every day, reflect on life and talk about who you are and your goals, and all of that just doesn't happen enough these days. So we all can sort of encourage that in our own ways and do our part to, fascinatingly, that correlates to sort of an application to college and making that as genuine as possible, because that will come through more meaningfully than whether test scores were shared or not. I know it sounds like cliche or cheesy, but it's true.
I just had more of a comment than anything else. The AP test results was something that obviously drew my eye just because of the growth in the last 2 years. Not only the number of students, but number of exams. Also FHS scoring 3 or better. Huge jumps in the last 2 years. Do you attribute that? I know that there was some commentary about switching over to a digital format. Do you think that has something to do with it? Or is it more of this has been an amazing amount of progress in 2 years?
That's our faculty and staff just do a tremendous job delivering a curriculum that is College Board's curriculum in a really thoughtful and meaningful way, where kids are engaged in their learning, and magically it correlates to success on the AP exam. So we've sort of figured out the secret sauce there a little bit between sort of delivering a curriculum that someone else wrote to we like to sort of make it our own, but in thoughtful and meaningful ways, and it's working. It's cool. I sat in an AP African American Studies class last year, and I was like, this is so, like, how could you not be engaged? And like by default, preparing yourself for success on that AP exam. It just goes to show, like, I'm not gonna compliment College Board, but like, you know, in certain areas, it is sort of figured out, sort of the conversation, the reflection, the engagement in the content, in a nice way correlates to success on those AP exams.
Yeah.
Some of them are digital, some of them are hybrid. The resources are more robust. Like that's where College Board would like want me to say like, well, we have to we have to do all of the AP exam registrations now for like May exams. And their argument to support that is because once we order exams, they have access to all the resources. So like, and then we're like, well, why don't we want our students to have the resources? So of course everyone's going to do the exam orders now. So yeah, I mean, we're on track again to have just a tremendous like AP exam season or school year this year too.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll just one comment on the school links too. Thanks for the preview because my daughter will be here in like 9 months.
Yeah.
So I just got a preview. So thank you.
Yes, she's in it now. She could play around with most of the stuff already.
Oh,
She
fun.
has. I actually was, when your daughter was in 6th grade, I was in that lesson. And she was one of the most engaged students in the classroom. And I was like, yes, yes.
You've got some energy that
I
one.
mean, I can only, like, you take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. Like, they have, like, developed a platform that is, like, engages kids and gets them to go back in, whether I ask them to or not. So,
And just,
Oh,
I just wanted to add one more thing, if you don't mind, but,
yeah.
counselors too have been engaged in this conversation about, let's have every student try to take a college level course before they leave if they can. And
Yes.
so, and that is part of the school links too, like talking to students, like, we have so many different options as you saw, so which one is most aligned to your interests and try it. So there's a lot of that kind of talk happening also with counselors who are encouraging students to give it a try, and when they try it, because of how engaging it is and the different methods that teachers are using, often they find success in it. Even students that have said, I don't know if college courses are right for me, but you can see that many students are thriving.
Yeah.
So I just wanna, you're giving all,
That's awesome.
it's great,
Yes.
I think that teachers deserve a lot of credit, but counselors do too. I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure.
Yeah, it's really I mean, the other side of it too is the programming. So, what I didn't share it here, it might be in the report, but our junior class, 100% of the class has access to college level work, either through their choice of taking AP US History, AP African American Studies, or American Studies ECE. So that's just unmatched in like, in my experience talking and working with other districts. So, and it's done, American Studies is just such a cool opportunity for kids with a blend of college level work in both social studies and English for a great population of students. And then those otherwise have the access to the AP coursework, 2 different AP classes because, of the AP African American Studies. And then an honors level English class is also a choice in there too. So it's just like, that's huge.
We could do a bit of a history lesson because American Studies came out of a pilot.
Yeah.
We wanted to integrate curriculum. I mean, if you could really think back many, many years ago, we wanted to integrate, we wanted students, because of our VOG at the time, our vision of the graduate, we were finding that we didn't have enough integrated subject area courses. And so we felt like, we could take a wall down, if you remember, at FHS in between 2 classrooms, double the class size, have 2 teachers, 1 social studies, 1 English teacher, have double the students, and do this integrated coursework. And the board supported the pilot. And now today, it's a college credit-bearing class. So you could just see how things evolve over time because of our focus on equal, or actually equitable access. We have increased the percentage. That is part of the equity framework that we said we should have no barriers to opportunity here. And so you see the impact of the board's decision-making at the school level. And sometimes, yes, it takes time to get there. This didn't happen overnight. This is many years of hard work on the part of many people, including the board. But with that focus of these core documents that drive our work, we're constantly moving towards them. And we had seen that we had an opportunity gap. I mean, Erica, you and I talked about this at the last board meeting. It's often not about an achievement gap, it's an opportunity gap. Now we have students that had never take college credit-bearing classes. They're taking them. That gives them an advantage when they apply for college, which they didn't have before. So, I do want to kind of bring it back to, the infrastructure and the work of this board in getting us there, which Kate recognized as she was doing her presentation. But, Veronica and I could do a history lesson on this because for me, I just sit here and say, oh my gosh, you start something, you never know where it's going to go. But that American study that course was pivotal in ensuring 100% of our students now have access to a college credit-bearing
success,
course.
no matter what a student does after high
No
school.
matter what, if they choose to go or not, but they should have the choice to go to college. But those are things that you need to have exposure to get to that place, that confidence to say, well, I did it. I already have college credit. I could do this if I chose to do that.
And one last thing I just want to say, because I do have a senior in college. And another parent we were just talking the other day is that while difficult and hard it was to take an AP class, to know that they actually could graduate now in December
Yes.
because of the credit they received taking
Yes.
the course is amazing. And they're like, oh my God, I could just graduate now. But we're going to stay for the senior fund. That's a whole semester I didn't have to
The
pay.
opportunity for potential college
That's
credit
great.
is, for me, the icing on the cake. It's what's much more impactful and important is what you're saying, Kathy, as far as simply the access to college level work is the predictor. The potential college credit is like an extra bonus. So we support students in obtaining that credit. A high percentage obtain the credit based on our success rates. But simply put, the access, the experience, the expectations, like developing that kind of student is for us like the greatest game changer for, success after high school in all shapes and forms, whatever a student wants to do. Thank you. I'm always a little nervous presenting, so appreciate you all
Awesome.
and
Thank you, Kate.
thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, item C, strategic planning and accountability for continuous improvement, SDP 2526.
So in so many ways, what we just talked about, this document every year is how we engage in this iterative improvement work. You'll probably see some of this in FHS's school development plan. This then, next year, in October, you'll see the results and outcomes of the school development plan and the program development plan. So Veronica will do an overview of kind of the themes for this year. And then what will be really nice is the bookend, at the very end of this section, it will be the, deeper learning updates and then the annual Global Citizen Showcase. It's all just working together. I love it.
Thanks, Kathy. So as you can see, that's a very lengthy document in this week's agenda. And you all received that full document, but this is really my opportunity to give you the Cliff's Notes version of it. And Kathy's right, just a couple of weeks ago, I was sharing the results and outcomes from the prior one. I also want to, again, just echo what she was saying about how what you just heard from Kate is that's the results and outcomes of this kind of planning. I mean, the kind of planning was, we want students to experience a rigorous course before they leave, and that was several years ago. You can go back and look at a previous, school development plan from the high school, and you would see it there, and now you can see the results of that. So that is the sort of way that these plans, impact what we do in school. So before I really get started into what you see up there, I just wanted to say 4 sort of big ideas about this planning and developing this document itself. So the first thing is we talk a lot about coherence and emergence. And so one of the things you'll find is that we're very coherent on some of these very big ideas, but in terms of emergence, schools and how the schools set out a plan to meet these big goals is very much up to them. So there's a lot, so even though they'll be like the same themes, you could read through the school development plans and say, oh, this school is sort of using this text or this anchor text to get at it, and they have these ideas for strategic actions. This school is trying to get at that same sort of idea, but they're doing it a different way. So you would see that in our school development plans, that they're coherent, but there's also room for this emergence idea at each school. The other thing I would say is all collaboratively developed. So we started this like a long time ago, back in the spring with the DLC. We started thinking about what makes sense as our next level of work, what are some of the ideas that are emerging that we really want to dig into next year. And so we sort of develop that collaboratively. Then we sort of generate a very long list in each category. And over the summer, as we meet and we work on it, we say, okay, we can't take on everything. So we start weeding it out so we get to a more sort of simple version. And as we go, it's like the simpler it gets, the more that we cross out and kind of say these are the bigger themes for the year. And then at the school, so this is in that bucket of collaboratively developed, it's not only collaboratively developed by administrators, but then at the schools, there's all kinds of processes to make sure that teachers and students often are involved in collaboratively developing what the plan is for that year. The third theme is this idea, and Kathy stole the word, but it's iterative. So we know that every year, as part of our continuous improvement model, we kind of get better. We find new experts that we can look at for the work that they're doing. And continue to improve. And we do that through looking at our results and outcomes, through looking at results and outcomes on surveys or focus groups that we hold, all kinds of indicators that tell us how close we're getting to the goals that we set out for ourselves. And then fourth, and you see in every single bucket up there, but this idea of the school development plan, we need to keep thinking about it's for our students, and it's not something that we do to students, but what we do with students. And so the more we keep this idea of where's the student voice in each one of those three categories, we feel that the better our plan is. So those are the four things that I would say just to know about the plan in general. The way it's laid out, it's always like the goal, then it'll say, how will we know? So those are the performance indicators, which then we report on in results and outcomes, and then very specific strategic actions for each one. So, and every school has the same categories, these, culture and climate, which is aligned to high trust, academic achievement, which is high expectations for all, and then teaching and learning, which is high engagement. And so really I think in each one, I'll just point out one or two things, I suppose. You do see that you do see two books there that we've read, and we do a lot of reading as a DLC together. We all read Unreasonable Hospitality, and that really relates to our idea of exceptional care and service for all. And so, we got some feedback from welcoming walkthroughs, which we've talked about in past meetings. And so really addressing what did that tell us about how, what's the customer care and the way that we want to make sure that everyone gets exceptional service in the Farmington Public Schools. I do also want to point out, and this you will remember because last time we were together, it was at the high school, and the students were really talking about what they're doing at the high school for this idea of the power of mattering. I don't know if you remember that presentation, but I just want to point out that this subtle difference, we talked a lot about belonging, and belonging is good, but mattering is even like one step farther than that. So belonging is like, do I fit in? Am I accepted and fit into like this? There's like a group. Do I fit into it? And mattering, which is what we're really after, is that one step further. Like, do I feel significant and valued by the group? So not just do I like fit in with like whatever like a social norm might be, but do I matter because I might be different, and do I matter to this community because all of us make one? So just even those subtle shifts, and that's what I mean by it being iterative, that at one time we would have thought belonging is what we're after, but as you read more and you think more, you go, no, it's really this idea of mattering, that we really care that all of these voices are, in the mix, So that's kind of like some of the subtle differences there. So in this one too, the amplifying student voice, shared ownership of the culture and climate with students. So continuing to partner with students in all different kinds of ways to see what, how we partner with them for improving culture and climate. That it's not just something, again, that adults can do to students, but what is it that we all do together. In goal 2, academic achievement. You might have heard some of these themes already through different presentations that we've had, but certainly universal design, which is UDL, Universal Design for Learning, is something that we're working on this year. Maybe the one that's closest to that really is the presentation we saw at West District School about how all students can access curriculum and do hard work. And so that's that power of high expectations. That all students have an entryway into rigorous thinking and rigorous work. And this idea of developing students' learning power. So this learning to learn is something we're really digging into. And Zaretta Hammond took a sabbatical for the past several years so that we could have this book called Rebuilding Students' Learning Power, which we've purchased for all DLC members, and we'll soon be digging into that as a resource to help us with this goal number 2. And goal number 3, this is the fun part, right? This is the deeper learning. We've been talking a lot about powerful task design, and you've probably heard Eric at meetings talking about the work in the summer that he did on powerful task design and how that's really shaping our educator evaluation and professional development plans this year, which is our EEPD plan, which you know all about. But many of the projects have been really influenced by that work, and so that's what you'll see in a lot of the plans in teaching and learning. So in all of these buckets, this is what you'll see in a lot of the school development plans. I do want to point out, of course, we are being so shaped by AI, so that's going to continue to be something that we continue to get smarter about, explore what impact does that have on students. You'll see some curriculum kinds of programming in the near future about what we're going to recommend for our students on the student-facing side. Right now, we're really doing a lot on, just empowering teachers to know how to use it and what it's for. A little bit with students, but more to come, much more to come on that. As we get much better at what that means for education. So that's a really quick overview of several hundred pages in your board packets. But again, as you're looking at those, just kind of knowing what the overall themes are and how we develop those and think about our work. But it is part of what makes being in Farmington a very exciting place to be a learner, because we're always digging into new resources. How does it apply to us? Trying things out. We have this idea of coherence and emergence, which means that we're, always trying to take on these interesting ideas and try them out in our classrooms. So that's the overview.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, Veronica. All right. Next item D, professional appointments, resignations, and retirements.
We have 1 appointment and 1 resignation in this report.
Item E, deeper learning updates, expanded annual global showcase. Veronica's
I'm gonna let Kathy do her intro.
We all have our.
She's already done the intro during the
I
other
just want to give
presentations.
kudos to Veronica. This is a document we've had for a few years now. And although, poor Veronica must have heard countless times from me because I was anxious to get a copy, but she wanted to redesign it. And so she did the hard work of redesigning it. This all comes from the schools, but then she made this document much more engaging and exciting by the redesign. So I'll let her go over that with you.
Yeah, so actually, I just thought it would be really nice if everyone could just take a pause, flip to one project that you think looks interesting, pause on that one, and kind of read over it. And so I'll give you about a whole minute. I'm going to give you a whole minute to pick one and take a look at it. You can do it just by flipping open, because anyone is a good one. So as you're reading, just be prepared to share one thing with the person next to you about something you noticed. That's the only thing, and I'm not going to make you share it publicly, just with the person next to you. Okay, so just with the person next to you, just call out one thing that you noticed about the project or the page or anything that you want to call up. It's hard to pick one.
It's hard to pick one. I was say, I know. I was right?
I was really pushing
Yeah.
the students to do their best.
It's not just these are job aspects, but this is also like thinking about who your audience is. What is appealing to them? You know?
Yes. So it's even beyond.
It's beyond.
Right.
That's what.
And that's like the most powerful learning is that it's beyond what we even think. Like it
Yes.
just keeps growing. You know what I mean? Beyond.
It's beyond just this.
It's also like you're making a difference in the world.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Too.
yeah.
Like
Just
this whole idea of like, be someone
I mean,
who is a change maker who makes a difference, makes the world better. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that. To me, a lot of the connections to the global citizen is like a civic contributor, which I think really matches like the farm.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
I wanted
Service
only
to
like a
others
consistent
and
voice,
caring.
you know, and a consistent like
It really
format with
reflects
the same kind of stuff, so you know what you're looking at.
it's almost like the DNA.
Yeah, okay, so I'll stop you there. You probably had enough time to just like say one little thing about it. So I don't know who's controlling this? You are? You're doing a great job. It was so seamless that I didn't know it was you. I was kind of like, who is controlling this? But could you just click, because I do have like little boxes that come up. So let's just start here. I'm just gonna say, so the first thing is, coming up with a title, saying what grade level that they're doing it. I did not know that there is an actual word for the study of the relationship between flowers and their pollinators is called anthecology. Who knew? That's an actual word. It's an actual thing you can study. So an anthicologist is that person who studies that. Click again. So then again, I want a sort of coherent voice of like this learning experience, what it is, and sort of a similar number of sentences in each one of these categories with the essential questions. So really bringing it back to what is the essential question that students are trying to answer that are much bigger than usually, that one, like this one, like how can we be stewards of the pollinators? That's a big, big essential question. That's what we want students to really get out of these projects. Of course, there's pictures, those don't get highlighted, but if you click again, wanted to really emphasize like the learning you're doing is relevant today. It's not, and that's why we really named it, instead of the vision of the global citizen, if you remember, here's another history lesson, it was changed to vision of the global citizen, because you're a global citizen, whether you're a kindergartner, whether you're a third grader, whether you're an 11th grader. You're a global citizen at any point. It's not like a tomorrow kind of thing. So really wanted to emphasize like the learning you're doing is relevant today. And then we really wanted to add, again, so that it's sort of fits in with, what Jal had told us in our professional development with him, and then what, Kate Martorelli was talking about today. Like tomorrow, like what are you thinking about for careers? And I can't wait to see how like these careers over time time change because of AI and all the technology and all the things that are happening. So these may still kind of look a little more traditional, on the more traditional end, but I can imagine over time that'll change, you know. So you can see learning targets, so very specific, smaller learning targets. But then, of course, this is all tied into our VOGC. So really just, even though it's, you know, Kathy and I had a conversation about, because they're all 5 of them. They're always all 5 of the VOGC, but in order to make it sort of fit in the format and not overwhelm, it was always like, what is it mostly? What is it mostly about? And then tying in, our VOGC also has up there, I'm learning to exhibit. It also has like competencies that are other than just the vision of the citizen, but it has these words. So trying to pull out what were the top words from what we're doing. And then, of course, student quotes. So just taking what the student quotes are. So every page has a sort of that cohesive look to it, and it would have all those same parts to it. So that's the idea there. I do think that, you know, we could do, I think that ultimately this will also be on a web. I mean, we have it on a web as sort of a flip book, but I can foresee that as we have these, they'll become tiles on our website, so people can kind of sort through by grade or by subject to see them, because every year, even though a couple of these might be like copies from other years, but over the years, these continue to evolve and change, and we put new ones in. So these are mostly new. There's only overlap by a couple of them. So I can see over time having lots and lots of examples. And this, again, goes with that last category on our school development plan of deeper learning, and one of the ways we accomplish it. You know, and just having the book itself is a great celebration of the great work that teachers are doing. It gives them, you know, like, people want to submit to this and put a sample project in here that they've been working on. So it's a point of pride to get, you know, the work that teachers and students are doing into this sort of publication. So hopefully that's a
And you
little
have the
taste. We also make
The
these.
preschool playscape on the front.
Yeah, and then that's right.
Westwoods.
And then we also make more of these, like, professionally printed, and put them around town. We put them in like doctors' offices, so when people are at doctors' offices, they can pick it up and read it, and put them at the library and put them in lots of different places. So we should give them to real estate agents. Move to Farmington.
Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question. About how many years now have you guys been working on this vision of the global citizen? Would you say, like, how did it revolve? I get a lot of questions with that, like, how did it all start? And I'm like, it's been a while, I know that.
Yeah.
When Kim was here, and
Yes.
like, where kind of did it begin, and how did it
long
evolve?
time
If you don't mind
ago.
me asking, I know it's been a while.
Kathy's favorite history lessons.
A
History.
bit of a history of
Here we
when I arrived here. So when I arrived, the goals for the board had not been renewed. So they were already finished, the 5-year goals. You know, you always approve 5-year goals. And so I came in 2009, and they probably should have been done potentially in 2005. They weren't yet updated. So that was my first charge from the board, was to create new 5-year goals. And in the past, they were content level goals. They were reading, writing, math, science, social studies. And that was a time where we were really, like, beginning to understand that our students were going to be entering a world where content knowledge is very important, but those 21st century you know, thinking and learning skills were an area that we had not yet explored in Farmington, and they were potentially an area that could be holding our students back if we didn't push on those thinking and learning skills. So we went out to the community, and we asked the community, what do you want your children to know and be able to do by the time they graduate Farmington High School? And that's how the first vision of the graduate was created, by a community kind of going out, talking to community members, talking to students, talking to the board, and figuring out what, like, in Farmington, what's most important to us. And then we knew that you couldn't do a vision of the graduate without changing the instructional design. If you kept doing teacher-centered type of teaching and learning, how could students know, like how could they actually attain critical thinking and reasoning and communication and collaboration? Those, those self-direction and resourcefulness that was the vision of the graduate. So at the same parallel time, we had a group of teachers creating a new instructional design from brain research. We looked at how the brain learns, and that's how we created the framework for teaching and learning. So then we had both, and I remember Kim bringing it to me, and I said, well, this is all about what teachers should be doing. What should students be doing in this framework for teaching and learning? So we have two sides. If you're really going to amplify student voice, you have to have a student side of a framework. What do they do in instruction? So uniquely in Farmington, we have an instructional model that is equally student and teacher to amplify student voice. And then, we just worked really hard on this iterative work. It's the same design, school development plans, program development plans. And then along the way, periodically we change our theory of action because we learn new things and we change that. But these core documents, our vision of the graduate, our core beliefs, our framework for teaching and learning, they all stayed the same for a decade. So from 2010 to 2020 was our vision of the graduate, our framework for teaching and learning, our core beliefs, and this theory of action that periodically changed as we learned something new. Because your core documents stay the same, you kind of have to change your theory of action every so often. And then 10 years, the board was great. They gave us 10 years. And I wanted to say earlier, a lot of this is go slow to go fast. You go slow at the beginning and you learn and you are patient. And then it starts to go pretty fast. Like we're in a fast moment right now. Things are like coming together and really, it's like, oh, we have this and we have this and look at the scores and look, things are going fast because we took the time. So then in 2020, what a lovely time to start a new set of goals. It was really interesting to do that. But Veronica, very similar process. She curated all of these documents about the future. What's 2030 going to look like? What are the jobs going to be? What are the problems going to be globally? And so she curated all of this and went on the road, went to every all the schools, had parent nights, and then we created our new vision of the global citizen that is 2020 to 2030, so another decade. When I tell people this history, because we present a lot, they all go, "You're Board of Education, 10 years?" And I was like, yes, because the first 5, you're really learning with these new, and especially for us, 2020 was so hard, and 2021 and but then when you really start moving, we're reading these books, we're engaged in professional development, we're asking outside experts, this iterative work starts to really get shaped, and you start to see it all come together, which we saw in the first 10 years with the VOG, and now we're seeing with the VOGC. But that's
That
the
is
history.
so impressive. And I have to say, this is like a testament to your legacy. Thank you for that. And then awesome work with everybody. I get asked that all the time, and I'm like, it's been a while, but let me get the real history so everybody heard now.
But our influence is pretty significant. NEASC now requires a VOG.
Yeah.
They came to our NEASC visit,
Yes.
and I think we really convinced them, like,
That's great.
wow, this really comes together when you have a vision that is student-centered and about those thinking and learning skills, and not just about subject area content, but both of those things coming together. So Farmington always has a lot of influence throughout the state, and then beyond too. And
Always a step ahead.
yeah,
You should be very proud.
yeah. And it's a great, it's what Kate said, it's a team effort. We are based, our whole structure is based in teams, and that's what makes the work keep moving. And so I never worry about the work continuing.
It must be so hard for you to leave. With all the great work.
Yeah, but it's definitely got all the the structures, the routines are in place. So you just you kind of keep going with it and you give people permission to try things, just try it.
Taking the
Maybe
risk.
it'll work, and yeah, so it's pretty exciting. But thank you for
Impressive.
asking the question. That was
Impressive.
fun
Thank
to
you.
go back in
And this
time.
book is great.
Yeah.
This book is great. Love it.
Yeah.
Next item, item 7A, budget impact, budget update.
Dan loves following.
All the excitement,
Following,
teaching
yeah.
and learning.
Come on, Tim.
I'll talk about budget impact. So, yeah, boy, that's just fun.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Go for a running target.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. No, right now, budget impact, we'll talk about the budget planning as one of the next agenda items. But right now, we're still, obviously, moving through. We're still, pretty early on. Everything is on track. Everything is looking, really good. This is the kind of the time of year where we start moving from projections to actuals. You kind of like, okay, this is where we're on pace to, but now we start seeing, what those utility bills are, the transportation, all those costs, and saying, okay, yeah, we're on track, or we're a little bit, and we need to make some adjustments and going from there. But overall, everything as we go from projections to actuals, things are looking really good. We are close to finishing our annual audit. We have that, each year and doing that, and usually at the end of the year they'll make a few recommendations. But I know Beth Haber has worked really hard on kind of cleaning up that process, to make sure that everything is in a good place there. Once again, not as exciting as VOGC, but we did as we look for our facilities operations, we had 3 vehicles that we just weren't utilizing as much anymore, especially from a couple years back when we moved to having the 2 spare drivers to those being like floating custodians and moving most of our transportation needs right to specialty. So we put those on, it's a site called Gov Deals, where it's like an auction site for things. And so between the 3 vehicles, we netted about $30,000 in that, which will then go into the capital budget for vehicles. And so some of that money we've already used to get the high school. It's on order a new transit van. Most of the Suburbans that they drive hold maybe about 6 kids. This one will hold like 9 students. So it gives some opportunities for like school counseling when they go on those school career pieces. That like when Steve Nesco came and did the presentation, they can go special services, transition services. We'll use that for job site, job coaching type things, and then the alt school also uses that for transportation. So they use so hopefully having a little bit larger van gives them a little bit more flexibility. Sometimes instead of having to take 2 vehicles, now they can just do 1. So hopefully we'll save a little bit there as well. So that project is kind of working on completion. And then in a little bit, we'll talk about the 26-27 budget planning, because it's Groundhog's Day and we do it all over again and get ourselves ready for the following year. I don't have any questions or.
Next item on the agenda, item 8, new business. A is review of the 2026-2027 Board of Education meeting schedule.
And this is a first reading, so you will vote for a second reading at the next board meeting. And this is something you need before January to have approved. So we always bring it to you at this time of year.
Okay. Any comments? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the 2026-2027 Board of Education meeting schedule as presented?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Just have one request. One of those days falls on my birthday, so if we can have some sort of celebration, that'd be great.
Pizza, cookies?
Cookies. Maybe Nadine can come back for
I'll go back work.
a visit.
Duly noted. Are you going to tell us which one it is?
Nope. We'll just bring them to every meeting.
Now your birthday?
Okay. So next item is item B, 2026-2027 School District Budget Development Guidelines Priorities Timeline.
So what you'll see is
In the packet, the 2026-27 budget manual, that was given out to all the building district leaders for our budget development. You'll see, the beginning obviously has, kind of our guiding principles, core document. And, once again, the goal every year is we want to build a budget that's going to meet the needs of all of our students, and maintain, our status as one of the leading school districts, really, not just in the state, but in the entire country. And at the same time, continue to be fiscally responsible to the taxpayers, right? And finding that balance is always the inherent challenge that we begin with and kind of work through. And so you'll, like I said, the packet, you'll see some of the dates that are in there. And just kind of a quick overview, you'll see that, we start that with really looking at our past budgets and seeing, how did we do last year? And see where are some places that we think we can create some efficiencies. And, last year, for example, there's, we were fortunate to see the, working with One Digital, to see the retiree drug benefit that netted us about $1 million in savings and the health insurance, which was obviously substantial. But then there's even some smaller ones where we looked at, the facility was using a software called School Dude for ticket items, and then technology was using SIAM with another one there. And we said, well, can't one of them do both of them? And we looked, and we could. And so we were able to consolidate and put everything on SIAM, and now no longer have to renew School Dude. And so once again, that netted a few $1,000s and things. So always constantly looking for where are those opportunities, whether it's big or small, to be able to create those efficiencies and be able to have more money for the other things that we need as higher priorities. Now, we're meeting with building leaders about staffing, instructional supplies, and so on. Reviewing with Sam, Matt, and even the building principals about major projects and capital projects, and taking a look at that. And then looking around, we also kind of, for forecasting, we have our consumer price index, which currently is floating around 3%. So we kind of, to do that, to kind of build our forecast. And so then, slowly start putting that where we'll start presenting to you, and, kind of those final numbers in there. So, that's a macro level, overview. I don't know if there's any questions. I'd be happy to answer.
Questions, comments? No? Right, can I have a motion to approve the 2026-2027 school district budget development guidelines as presented?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda, item C, policy updates.
So I want to begin by thanking the policy committee. There are many policy updates. If you go to the next slide, I'm going to try to give you an overview of each one and why they've been updated. So if you see the first group, you could see that there are many different series implicated here. And usually we do them in order. But after having the policy committee, I thought maybe I should put them together because they're for all the same reason. And you can see some of those reasons up here. We had Public Act 25-139 that added a protected class, sexual assault victims and human trafficking victims. So the policies, many of these policies are implicated because of this additional protected class here in Connecticut. A change of location. So there's a mix of federal and state in all of these policies. We had a change of location of the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights, which implicates several of these policies. It changes the appeal timeline involving superintendent or a member of the board as the same timeline for other respondents, and that's a federal one for Title IX. 2025 Federal District Court in Kentucky reverted back to the 2020 Title IX. Remember that from last year and the policy that we approved, but now Shipman and Goodwin have completed all the policies that have implications with Title IX. Use of a third-party contractor for investigations or decision maker, removal of some wording and the policies, adding distinctions between state and federal law, and some technical changes. So we spent a lot of time in policy going through them and me repeating each I figured it out. I said, let's just put them all together. Student discipline, Connecticut statute section 10-222AA changes the school climate requirements. You remember we approved that policy before the end of last year. And so now this implicates school discipline. There's a new definition of bullying and challenging behaviors. So that those are changes there. Then Public Act 25-139, again, this protected class changes. New requirements for suspensions and expulsions regarding homelessness and students with IEPs. And some legal citations have changed. We go to the next slide. 3170 board budget procedures, line item transfers. As you remember, we now have a non-lapsing account. Public Act 2593 requires an annual report of the non-lapsing account and to submit the report to both the CSDE and the exclusive bargaining rep in the district within 30 days of adopting the board's budget. Each local board of ed must notify the exclusive bargaining rep for certified employees, establishment of the account and the intended uses for the funds for the next fiscal year. You'll see all of this obviously before it goes to anyone, but that's another feature of the non-lapsing account that wasn't there before. 4150 FMLA, effective 10/125, Public Act 25174, made some significant changes to two state laws, Connecticut Family and Medical Leave Act and the Connecticut Paid Family and Medical Leave, extending coverage to public school employees who do not require a license under Chapter 166 of the Connecticut General Statutes, which would be the non-certified staffing, not certified staffing. 4118.51, 4118.51A clarifies legal guidelines to regulate certain forms of employee speech in the context of social media. 4120 reports of suspected abuse and neglect of children or reports of sexual assault of students by school employees. Public Act 24-41 authorizes a board employee to conduct a preliminary inquiry to determine if reasonable cause exists to make a report of suspected child abuse or neglect. And there's some updated mandated reporter training, and there's a change to the terminology and the new school climate legislation to school climate specialists. So they've made that technical change. In the past, when that was a report that had to be made, we could not investigate at all, which at times was frustrating. You know, you hear something and you have to immediately call DCF without any preliminary investigation when it came to that type of reporting. So this allows for a preliminary investigation. Okay, 5125 FERPA. At the age of 18 years old, a student becomes an eligible student under FERPA. And this policy now clarifies that FERPA permits but does not require schools to disclose educational records to parents of eligible students without the student's consent if parent claims the student a dependent under Section 152 of Internal Revenue Code. So your child turns 18. If you wanted records, we would have to ask your child for that, but this just clarifies that for us, that not that we're required, but we could. 5145.4, child sex abuse and assault response and reporting. There's some technical edits and then a change of the safe school climate specialist to the school climate specialist. 6155 curricular exemptions, state law is unchanged. There are certain reasons that families can opt out of, and they're very specific. But then there was a U.S. Supreme Court ruling in Maryland. School official must now consider parent requests for excusal from instruction when they claim that instruction in certain topic burdens their religious upbringing of their children. 6210, parental access to instructional material beginning in 26-27. Not this year, next year. Veronica and Eric have some time. The Board of Ed shall post the objectives and scope and sequence of all approved curriculum on the website. 5141.21, administration of student medications in schools. There is now addition of nasal spray to medical equipment used in schools. That includes all the revisions to model policies.
Questions?
Just
Nadine?
Are you able to send that portion of the deck out
Yes.
for folks that aren't here today, just so
Yes.
we can reference it when we read through it again? Because it
Absolutely.
was a lot of redlining, and I think that table helps summarize and kind of
Yeah,
put it
it's such a
together.
good
So
format.
I appreciate that.
I will do that.
My question was, if this is just the first read, so that means we're allowing them to move forward to have further discussion, review, and so forth. Just because, I'll save my comments for the second read.
Do you have like questions about it or like needing more information?
Not information, more statements.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
We'll wait.
I need it in front of me. I need a motion to approve the policy updates listed below for a first reading. 1220 and 1220A, non-discrimination community. 4118 and 4118A, non-discrimination personnel. 4118.1 and 4118.1A, prohibition of sex discrimination, including sex-based harassment personnel. 5146 and 5146A, non-discrimination students. 5145.5 and 5145.5A, prohibition of sex discrimination, including sex-based harassment students. 5131 and 5131A, student discipline. 3170, board budget procedure and line item transfers. 4150, FMLA, family and medical leave. 4120, reports of suspected abuse or neglect of children or reports of sexual assault of students by school employees. 4118.51 and 4118.51A, social networking. 5125, FERPA, confidentiality and access to records. 5145.4, child sex abuse or assault response and reporting. 6155, curricular exemptions. 6210, parental access to instructional material. 5141.21, administration of student medications in school.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. So can I bring this up right now?
What's that?
When I, this, at
Oh.
this point? Or does it have to be later?
Either.
Okay.
You could talk about it, yeah.
Well, just because we have, we're on policy updates right now, and before we move on to policy repeals, I just, given the public comment that we've had over the past few meetings, about Eid and the calendar, I just wanted to ask the board, if we have consensus about asking the superintendent to work with the, policy committee to determine the impact of Eid, to the calendar policy. So I just wanted to know if we have consensus and I could ask the superintendent to work with policy.
And as you know, the policy or the calendar is approved in the first and second meeting in January. So any kind of study of it or look at it would probably be best looked at now through the policy committee and I think it's 6111, the right calendar policy, and 6111A. It probably would be a good thing for the policy committee to meet and just discuss it, and then at least have some information to come back to the board with,
Absolutely.
because it's going to be fast in January, so
Yeah.
just being prepared, you know.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's okay to add that. Sometimes they don't understand that we've already approved a calendar out, so that's why there's no changes. But
Yeah.
now there could be,
Yeah.
or a discussion. So thank you for that, because I think
Yeah.
a lot of people ask that, but not realizing we've already approved, was it 3 years the last time?
Yeah, because the next board is going to be getting the first reading in
The first reading,
January, and
right.
there's been
It's a
no
lot. Big
discussion
change,
about
too.
this. So that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to bring it up, and we're in policy updates right now, so.
I will say that over the last couple of meetings, we've gotten quite an education, and I think
Agree,
that's been
yes.
incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
So just a question for clarification then, so the policy committee would meet prior to January, review, come back, and so then that way. we
Yes,
would
and then
be-
come back to the board so that you're not asking after the first reading for them to do that, but prior to the first reading. That would give, I believe, with the policy committee's help, the superintendent maybe giving two versions of the calendars to show, and then just what discussion did we have? But it would give, I think, the superintendent the ability to do that in the first reading rather than waiting for the second reading, to bring that forward. I think it just would be a smoother process in that way.
So, sorry, another point of clarification though, but what you just described would be information that would be given to the new board members.
Yes.
Because, okay. Right. It's a lot of level setting,
A lot for the.
a lot of level setting, a lot of learning.
Which would be hard to do that within two meetings that are 2 weeks apart. We want to be thoughtful. We want to, kind of take in all of it, and it would be, I think, difficult because our regulations are very clear how to create the calendar. It does not give us as administrators flexibility to just do anything. But if the policy committee directed us or at the next board meeting, we discuss it and we say, listen, it's really important to bring two versions forward, and the regulations can change if the board chooses to have them change pretty quickly, but at least you'd have both versions. There'd be a report out, on the discussion. It just seems to me that it would be important to do that now rather than waiting. And then the timeline would be too tight.
Help with the transition for sure.
Yeah, I guess my concern is around how much level setting there would need to be for a new board, in the sense of, because we've been hearing so much of this. So I think that the tools that are developed to contextualize the amount of feedback or amount of public, comments that have been made, and the pros towards this is going to be very critical.
Yeah.
How that's conveyed to the new board members, because it's
Yeah, that's a good point, Erica. We
No.
might want to bring it forward with some sort of summary.
Yeah.
History.
Yes. Yeah.
For
Also laying
context.
out, laying out those dates in the
Yes.
future. So the
Oh, yeah,
two versions. for
Yeah.
sure.
I think of that as the data, but then.
But I'm also, sorry to interrupt, but I'm also talking about in the communication tool, or the level, I like to use the word level setting, but in the level setting tool, to even put in there some information around the number, like I know for me today, I think I heard 16 people just in this meeting alone. There's impact to that for however way you're going to lean, but there is impact to be able to represent the voices, just like we talk so much about representing the voices of our students. And, we have a saying in my work, nothing without us, nothing for us without us, when we talk about our young people. And so I would say that similar philosophy applies to the number of community members that have come forward to this Board of Ed meetings in the past several months. So I think we owe it to them also to be able to not just level set about sort of how many districts in Connecticut and
Yes,
the
yes.
two options of calendars and so forth, or whatever that may be, and the impact of that, but also the voices that we've heard throughout the several months of the community residents and students, and be able to convey that as clear as possible.
Yeah.
And bring that forward in whatever communication tool is used.
Yes.
And I think it's important to know what we've used in the past. The regulation guideline, I think, was a nice outlook of what's federal law, what we have to do versus it's not that we're trying to do just one thing. That's not true. So I think bringing that back up is a great tool for us, and it was great in the past.
And then also just really looking at the whole picture, because
remember, the more we add calendar days, the impact of air conditioning, all that, which we've discussed before, like going to school longer means hotter days, means no air conditioning in some schools. So it's just a huge impact on everything, looking at the whole picture.
Great. All right, so the next item, D, policy repeals, first reading.
So I want to be really clear that this does not at all reflect that we would not be doing these things. Of course we would. There are laws associated with each of these policies. They're just not mandated policies, and laws shift. And because they're not mandated policies, Shipman and Goodwin does not update them. So they're very outdated. These three policies, as are some of our other policies, are very outdated, which requires a lot of updates from Shipman, which can be very costly. And then, especially with special education requirements, things shift. If you saw the last legislative session, things shift dramatically, and we're going to follow state and federal law. So Shipman and Goodwin has, recommended that these three be repealed by the board because they are not going to keep up with them. They are not going to make modifications as things change, and so they'd be outdated, and we really don't want outdated policies. But that's why we did our policy project. We had several outdated policies, and we've been in the process of repealing and kind of cleaning up our policy book over time.
Part of that is that emphasis of board policy can't trump state law or federal law.
Right.
And so, if you always then create the possibility where now your board policy becomes in conflict with state and federal law.
Yes.
That creates that little bit of, I don't know, not juxtaposition, but that challenge in there. And so instead, we just, in essence, Shipman will take that position that you don't need these policies because you're just going to follow the law. And the law ends up becoming kind of your de facto policy.
Any questions, comments? Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the policy repeals listed below for a first reading? 6171, special education, 6173, homebound instruction, 6200, continuing education.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Motion passes. Next item E, adoption of new policy, first reading.
So, 6215, library collection, development, and maintenance, library displays and programs on library material review and reconsideration. This is a new policy under Connecticut state law. Section 321 of Public Act 25-168 requires boards of ed to adopt 3 policies related to school libraries. Shipman and Goodwin has created one policy that covers all 3. So the first is a collection development and maintenance policy. The second is a library display and program policy. And the third is a library material review and reconsideration policy governing school library materials, displays, and programming. So this is, again, one policy with all 3 requirements within it.
Questions? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the adoption of the policy listed below for a first reading? 6215, library collection development and maintenance, library displays and programs, and library material review and reconsideration.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. All right, so next item, where are we? Okay, item F, approval of an early release day for Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025.
So we have a unique calendar that a full day on the 23rd might be challenging. So, when we look at, as you know, the policy regulations do not allow for an early release the day before the winter break, but in certain circumstances, as we look at this year, this would be advisable. So there are times where I can make those decisions because they're urgent. decisions that have to be made. In this case, we're having a board meeting tonight, so I figured this really is an opportunity for the board to take action on this item. You'll have a lot of cheers in the school district community tomorrow. But it is problematic to have a full day, the day before the winter break. So in this case, sometimes the winter, we're leaving on the 21st.
Yeah.
We can have a full day. This is just very unique for us to have this situation.
Actually, I was looking at the calendar. I think we were the only district that had a full day. So I was like, oh, wow. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh, yeah, it makes sense.
We
teachers
do,
are talking.
we do have full days before many which, has been our tradition of our focus on instructional hours. In this case, I think we can modify it.
I know you're going to be a bad guy if you vote no on this one. So, can I have a motion to approve Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025 as an early release day prior to the winter break?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item 9, consideration of Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations Report A, approval of the September 2025 financial statement report.
As I mentioned at the budget impact update, things are trending really well and moving along with the budget. And so, there's nothing, I always try to find something maybe to highlight along certain lines, but really it's early on in there based on projections and different pieces. But we're moving along, spending the grant funding. All of the grant funding at this point has continued to come. We haven't been impacted anywhere by federal shutdowns or any of the other pieces. Some of the allocations may have been changed slightly here and there, but nothing material in that regards. And then, like I said, overall, just doing well on track. You'll see right now, obviously everything is a projected final balance. That's still pretty high, and that's going to be buoyed, like I said, throughout the year from those 3 kindergarten teachers that we didn't deploy, that didn't utilize because of the enrollment numbers being there. And so that's what we're hoping that maintains to stay kind of as healthy, and that there aren't other things, unexpected capital expenses, special services, special education, transportation type things that would maybe impact on that a little bit. But so right now, at the end of September, things are moving along very well. I don't know if anybody has any questions or.
Just a question. You mentioned transportation. We haven't really talked about that in a while. I would assume there's a reason for that. Can you confirm?
I'd like to confirm that's the reason. Sometimes it's like we don't talk about Bruno, and I kind of, but it was. I wouldn't lie if I didn't say how many board meetings can we go where we didn't talk about transportation. I'm going to take that as a really good sign, and I hope that tomorrow something doesn't go off the rail. But no, like I said, it's much as you'll hear kind of Kate Marelli. Really a good team effort, a lot of effort on specialty, kind of doing some changes that we talked about as that we asked there. I'd be remiss if I didn't give Matt Ross a tremendous amount of credit for a lot of the kind of day-to-day logistical things that are there. And so really just kind of a group effort on everybody's part, even with, Beth Haber, Dawn Driggs, working with them on the, the billing and, and that's the other part of that. You don't, I don't think we can appreciate the change, and had not been here, but at least hearing stories. I think just the transparency kind of with billing and the finances has really been, I think tremendous and super helpful. And we appreciate that partnership that specialty has kind of provided. So we're feeling good. We hope it stays that way. Like I said, since, we haven't heard any public comments or haven't had you guys have it. So I'm going to take those as positive signs, and we're going to, but at the same time, we're going to keep working and seeing what we can do to kind of make sure it stays that way and stays to the level that Farmington deserves.
Thanks to everybody involved. Seriously, huge turnaround. Huge.
Yeah.
Good.
I will say, knock on wood, like you're saying, it's been so consistent that I'm like, to my boys, hurry up, you gotta, I feel like they've been arriving like literally minute here, minute there. Yeah, it's just been, so.
Yeah. And like I said,
I ran into,
and that's a part, not, wanting everybody to be held accountable there, but I remember last year, we was talking about, it's true to form when you talk about change management and you talk about the implementation dip, right? Typically you're going to see that drop when you move from somewhere else, but then you got to get yourself there. And obviously we didn't want that drop to be as steep as it was coming down, and you never want it to take that long to get back up, right? But like you said, we were able to kind of work through that, and put it in a positive direction, and let's hope it just keeps going up and moving up in a positive direction.
I ran into Mike Turner at flag football one Sunday
Oh.
a couple of weeks ago, so I was able to thank him personally for
And just to add, part of the next level of work when we talk about that, obviously buses running time and that consistency, but now it's really, we know specialty works with Avon and is really for us working with, Wendy as well to see, are there opportunities in specialized transportation where, hey, you're sending this student to this school and so we're sending that student to that school. Can we find some efficiencies where we take one bus and do it and then now split the costs? Right, and so where are some things that are there, and obviously there's some certain challenges with that piece of it, but that's kind of that next level of work where we can see how do we become even, more efficient with the things without losing any quality of service.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. So can I have a motion to approve the September 2025 financial statement reports as presented?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, so we are on to 10, report of committee chairs. Personnel negotiations, that's me. The only update I have is that the security monitors are going to be negotiating because they're planning on joining FPSEU.
Yeah, so security monitors petitioned and will be transitioning to become members of the FPSCU along with, paras, administrative assistants, and custodians.
B policy, Beth?
Nothing new to report. Did a lot of work last week and
Curriculum is me. We had a meeting on October 27th, and really most of it has already been presented to the board. Eric gave us a recap of the Summer Learning Institute, and then we had a preview of the school program development plans, and then also a preview of the legislative and policy updates as it applies to curriculum, which we had in our board packet. Communications, Bob?
nothing to report right
We'll
now.
be meeting for the winter newsletter. I think we did a doodle poll, didn't we?
Vaguely
They
remember a
came at the
doodle
same
going
time
on.
as policy, so I'm sorry.
So, yes, you have,
Right, I figured it was about that time of year, but
it is about that time.
Okay.
So we already started just putting some things that have happened that we feel like these are front page items, and then we integrate our deeper learning updates in there. This will be featured, I'm sure. No, but we'll be meeting to talk about that.
Item 11, report of committee liaisons. Correct liaison, Bill is not here. B, extended learning opportunities. Sylvie?
Nothing to report.
Okay. C, superintendent's interscholastic athletic advisory committee. There is a meeting on December 9th. D, Farmington Public School Foundation, James.
Nothing to report.
Angela's not here for the health and wellness. F, cafeteria advisory, Nadine.
Gonna have some snacks on December 8th.
G, green efforts, Marty. All right. Erica, H, Community Council for Equity and Inclusion.
nothing to report.
I, FHS Building Committee, Beth.
Nothing new to report. We haven't met since our last board meeting, but we meet again this Wednesday.
Via Zoom.
ask a quick question? What are they doing out here? in the building?
I was just gonna,
Oh.
so I can give you a couple updates there.
Yeah.
One, what you're seeing, the construction there was recognizing in the design that while they do have handicap accessible parking, both in the front and the back, since this is our main entrance to,
For the community.
For the community, for, continuing ed, for athletic events, for, anything in the auditorium, the fall play there, that we received some, feedback early on in the opening that, any members who had access to handicap parking, it was very challenging for them to park kind of over there because those parts of the building weren't open.
Right.
And so looking at that design, they reconfigured that area so they're going to put some handicap parking spots there
Great.
to allow for more accessibility for community,
Which impacts the
and community
sidewalks,
events,
too.
which impact the sidewalks
yeah.
in there. So there was kind of a redesign. So the building committee reviewed that and then approved a change in that. The other one that you guys might be hearing about that we're continuing to work on is the smell that you sometimes hear about in the auto shop area and a couple other places. They're continuing to do. It is, we talk about vision of the global citizen and the scientific process and hypothesis, test a hypothesis and try it. I've never seen so many hypotheses tried on a problem, tested, failed, and then back. And you're talking about lots of experts across, HVAC systems and environmental systems and everything. And so, this.
I definitely think it's a deeper learning unit that
Oh,
Veronica's going to start working on
You're talking
right
about
away.
integrated unit and studies. This is going to be the thing. So, the latest was this weekend they did what's called a smoke test, which is basically what you would think it is. It's kind of taking smoke and putting it through various kind of the piping things to make sure that it's going all the way through. So there's not either blockage or there's not a leak somewhere. So if all of a sudden smoke comes out of some other place and there's a leak where now potentially either some smells or fumes might be coming out. So my initial information on that was it did not really provide anything like I don't want to say informative, but there wasn't an aha moment from that smoke test kind of there. But once again, all information is used to kind of continue to say, okay, let's check that box off and continue work. So they are continuing to work on that. And like I said, I think everyone, probably to the level of, I would say, last year with transportation, there's a level of, we're going to keep working and keep focusing, but there's at the equal time this level of frustration because we want to get it right for the students. We want them to be able to access there. We want everybody to have a good environment for learning. But it's not through any lack of due diligence on really all the members of this, where we meet regularly and say, okay, what did we learn? What do we want? How are we, extending stacks up on the roof? I've been up on the roof taking a look. All sorts of things. But so if you do hear anybody, we are continuing to work on that, and we will until we get the right answer and get a
Classes still being
solution.
held, I would assume.
So classes have been kind of, I would say, held intermittently. There's some times where when it's there, they're just not in there. It's too difficult. I think. Yeah, and I've been in there a couple times. Every time it's recorded, we'll try to go there. And the trick is, it would almost be better if it was consistent in this. Do you know what I'm saying? It's so intermittent, and that's what makes it tricky. Because we've thought, okay, is it when it rains? Is it when the wind is a certain direction? Is it when we've tried tracking it? Okay, is the wind going from a south direction? Is that and there really just hasn't been a discernible pattern to really allow us to kind of isolate there. So unfortunately for that some of the curriculum has probably been impacted from kind of loss of time in there. But the teachers really done a wonderful job of getting creative and finding other ways to still make sure that the lessons are meaningful and they're trying to maximize the experience to the best they can with the challenges that they're facing.
Jay, Superintendent Search Committee, I don't have an update, but I just wanted to say, if you haven't responded, Mary sent out it's like a 3-question survey just to reflect on our superintendent
The reminder.
search committee.
I know,
just
just
thought
a reminder,
that.
yeah, I totally
She had
that doodle
asked me
poll.
to remind everybody, so.
I did.
And if you need the link or anything, let me know. All right. Item 12, report of board chair. So first, Bill sends his apologies for not being here tonight. He had a dental procedure, so not feeling well. I just want to say, I had the opportunity on Saturday to attend the FHS theater department's performance of You Can't Take It With You, and I just wanted to give a huge shout out to all the actors, the stage crew, everyone behind the scenes. They really did a spectacular job, and if you haven't seen one of their performances, I mean, it's definitely worth it. I wanted to congratulate Bill and Nadine on being elected to the town council. I wish you both the very best as you begin the next chapter of service to our community.
Thank you.
I also want to congratulate our newly elected Board of Education members. I know there's one here in the audience. We look forward to welcoming you in January and partnering together as we continue the important work of supporting our students, our schools, and our community. The next and last board meeting of this term is December 8th at Union School. And then lastly, I just want to wish everyone a safe and restful and happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the extended weekend. You know, I hope everybody gets a chance to rest and recharge and spend some time with their family and friends. Yeah. All right, and with that, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned at 9:46.